Flying the flag for motorists, Rishi Sunak declares he's on the driver's side as he orders a review into low-traffic neighbourhoods. Labour accuses him of hypocrisy. Also tonight, more than 40 dead after a suicide bombing at a political rally in Pakistan. President Zelensky warns the war is heading to Russia after drone attacks on Moscow. And
yeah, that's Prince William.
the Burger King. Prince William serves up a surprise to save the planet.
This is DanTV News with Lucy Watson.
Good evening. The Prime Minister said today he was on the side of motorists and ordered a review into low-traffic neighbourhoods, residential streets that commuters can't use in some cities across England. But Labour has accused him of hypocrisy. And whilst Rishi Sunak is trying to portray Labour as the anti-motorist party, some of his own senior backbenchers are urging the PM to ease off the accelerator when it comes to the timeframe on banning petrol and diesel cars. Our political correspondent Carl Dinnan has the story.
Low-traffic neighbourhoods have become highly divisive. In Oxford, the barriers that mark them have been repeatedly vandalised. The government recently stopped funding them, and now the Prime Minister has announced a review. Ministers say they don't always work well for people on the outside.
The reality is that they can work in some areas, but in other areas there's more than a suspicion that all they're doing is just driving traffic into neighbouring areas, which is actually causing more congestion.
Although to date academic studies don't seem to suggest that's necessarily the case.
All of the available sort of independent evidence at the minute says, I mean, it's a bit of a mixed picture. In some places you see a bit of that, but overall, you know, you're not seeing these huge increases in congestion and traffic at the boundaries. And, you know, we would expect to pick that up if it was really pronounced.
And they are largely popular with those who live inside them.
Specifically here, I think it's a very good idea to have the no car zones. So, yeah.
In my opinion, yes, absolutely. This road used to have a lot of people doing cut-through every morning and every evening.
For people who actually need a car for their livelihood, yeah, it's made life harder for them.
The Prime Minister has clearly decided there's political mileage in being the motorist's friend, especially if he can make Labour look like they're not. He told the Sunday Telegraph, "I've become slightly more alarmed by the Labour Party's position. It's quite anti-motorist. I just want to make sure people know that I'm on their side in supporting them to use their cars, to do all the things that matter to them." Labour don't agree.
Well, I can't take the Prime Minister seriously as the motorist friend. This is a Prime Minister who personally took enough money out of the potholes budget. You could have used that money to fill potholes from Land's End to John O'Groats and back again.
Rishi Sunak reinforced his message with a picture of himself behind the wheel of Margaret Thatcher's old Rover today. He said he was reviewing anti-car schemes across the country. But he is sticking to his pledge to ban the sale of new petrol and diesel motors by 2030, despite a letter from 43 Tory MPs and Lords who said that was heavy-handed and damaging to the economy.
Carl, green issues at the heart of political debate tonight, and an announcement on energy security expected this week too.
Yeah, that's right. The Prime Minister's heading to Aberdeenshire tomorrow, where he's got an announcement on a carbon capture scheme. And at some point this week, we are expecting announcements on new oil and gas licences for the North Sea as well, which will be much more consequential and controversial than any of this stuff about low traffic neighbourhoods, because some people see it as completely insane to be drilling new oil and gas wells at a time when we can literally see and feel the consequences of climate change. But the Prime Minister, the government will argue that it is necessary for Britain to have energy security during the time when it transitions to net zero in 2050 and not to be subject to the vicissitudes of the global markets for these things. Labour say that they will respect any new licences that are issued, but they wouldn't be offering new ones if they come to power. And that's one of the big differences between the parties, although Rishi Sunak's MPs are asking to go further and put the brakes even more on some of his more green policies.
Carl, thank you. More than 40 people have been killed in a suicide bombing at a political rally in Pakistan. Hundreds of others, including children, have been injured. The explosion went off at an event organised by an Islamist party that forms part of the country's coalition government. Nobody has yet claimed responsibility for the attack. Sam Holder reports.
Hundreds gathered at the political rally near the border with Afghanistan. Moments before the blast, children could be seen amongst the packed crowd. Police believe it was a suicide bomb. At least 44 have been killed, dozens more injured.
I didn't know how and what exactly happened. I just saw a spark and heard a big bang. I was sitting close to the stage and our leadership was near the stage. After the blast, I saw hundreds of people lying on the ground and people started firing in the air, a lot of firing.
The rally was for a leading Islamic party, one of the coalition partners in the government. Former Prime Minister Imran Khan said his prayers and sympathies are with the affected families, adding that Pakistan cannot afford another wave of terrorism. Nobody has claimed responsibility for the bomb, but the local chapter of the Islamic State group has recently carried out attacks against the hardline Islamic Party, accusing leaders of hypocrisy for working with the government and military. One witness, a former senator, has appealed for blood donations to local hospitals to deal with the tragedy. The death toll is expected to increase significantly. Sam Holder, ITV News.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky had an ominous warning today that war is returning to Russia after another drone attack on Moscow. The possibility the battle between Russia and Ukraine could enter a more deadly and dangerous phase was also implied by the former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev when he reiterated claims his country would have no choice but to use nuclear weapons should Ukraine's counter-offensive be successful. Callum Watkinson has the latest.
Drone attacks in the heart of the Russian capital. The Kremlin said 3 were downed over Moscow last night, causing damage to 2 office blocks, including one housing multiple Russian ministries. The physical impact of the attack was limited, but the strike, like every other on Russian territory, has symbolic reverberations. There's been no confirmation from Kiev, but this evening, President Zelensky had a warning for the Kremlin.
Року, так і цієї зими російські терористи ще можуть бити по нашій енергетиці, по критичних об'єктах. Сьогодні ми обговорили із громадами поточний стан підготовки усіх можливих сценаріїв.
President Putin was in St. Petersburg for the annual Naval Day parade, announcing 30 new ships. While there was from him hardly a mention of the so-called special operation in Ukraine or the Moscow attacks, the former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev has again claimed that the country may have to use nuclear weapons in response to the Ukrainian counter-offensive. Medvedev isn't part of President Putin's inner circle, but is deputy chairman of Russia's Security Council. He tweeted, "Just imagine that the NATO-supported offensive turned out successful and they took away a part of our land. Then we would have to use the nuclear weapon. There would simply be no other way out."
I think Medvedev's response does chime in with quite a lot of opinion, certainly in the popular media in Russia. It's all state-controlled, but this is the sort of thing you hear on the Russian media, and it's sort of blood-curdling. And I think Putin allows that to happen because he wants to keep this sense of alarm in the West alive, that somehow this crisis could spin out of control into a nuclear crisis.
The former president's threat of nuclear war may be overblown, but they show the unease in Russia caused by both Ukraine's counteroffensive and capabilities in launching attacks on Russian cities far from the front line. Callum Watkinson, ITV News.
Rail services will be disrupted from tomorrow because train drivers are refusing to work overtime. Members of the ASLEF union at 15 companies in England will refuse to work extra hours from Monday to Saturday and again from August the 7th to the 12th. The long-running dispute is over pay. On to sport, and after last night's announcement that this Ashes Test is to be his last outing as a professional cricketer, Stuart Broad received a standing ovation from opponents and fans alike. The 37-year-old hit a six with his last ball he'll face in his career, before England were all out for 395. The Aussie openers did their utmost to ruin Broad's day, losing no wickets so far as they chased 384 to win. And finally, the Prince of Wales has been surprising diners by serving up burgers from a van in London. And as you'd expect, Prince William's burgers aren't any ordinary burgers. These were veggie, planet-saving ones. Charlie Frost has the story.
Can we have 4 Earthshot burgers, please, Chef?
Wait. Coming right up.
Morning, everyone. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's Prince William.
The future king, the burger server. It's an unexpected combination, but the grub he's rustling up isn't your usual fast food.
So, for those of you who don't know, the Earthshot Prize is there to repair and regenerate the planet.
A prize set up by the Prince 3 years ago, he challenged the cooks at YouTube channel Sorted Food to design a dish using 3 of the winning products from 2022.
Morning, guys.
Royal Mail.
I brought you some Earthshot bits and pieces.
I think we were all quite nervous on the morning. We're sort of waiting for it all to kick off. But as soon as he arrived, he made us feel incredibly relaxed.
So that was kind of the whole vibe of the room. And he just instantly mucked in.
And he was just really, really chilled and made it a very easy process for us.
Lift the cloche.
And that process led to the creation of a vegan burger. The ingredients grown in small greenhouses in India, which use 98% less water and yield 7 times more crops. They cook them on stoves created in Kenya that use biomass fuel instead of charcoal, and place them in packaging made out of seaweed, not plastic.
No worries.
And not just better for the planet, they went down well with the Prince's surprised punters.
The burger was so good. We loved the burger.
Prince William hoping this latest promotion of his green cause will be food for thought. Charlie Frost, ITV News.
And that is it from us tonight here on The Weekend Team. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.
Today we'll see warmer temperatures moving in from the east, especially around tea time. Heinz Beans sponsors ITV National Weather.
Hello there, very good evening to you. I hope you've had a lovely weekend, despite the fact the weather is still pretty meh. It's not too bad when the sun shines. By the time we get to the end of the night, though, the heavy rain that moved in from the west today is going to, in the main, have cleared off the scene, although we're still left with a few sort of puddles of fairly heavy rain in places, for example, across the far southwestern areas, and then this line here stretching in from the western parts of Scotland to northern England. So we start a brand new week as we end the weekend, of course, with the legacy of those systems giving us rather more in the way of cloud, rain at times as well. Probably, I think we're most likely to see that across Northern Ireland, northwestern parts of England and into northern Wales. Improving conditions across the southeastern parts of England and the far northern parts of Scotland during the second half of the day, with a high tomorrow of 22 degrees. A similar picture for Tuesday, but I think drier and brighter in the main, and again temperatures into the low 20s. Good night, sleep well.
Heinz Beans sponsors ITV National Weather.
Whatever the weather, it always feels like home. Valent Heat Pumps and Boilers sponsor ITV London Weekend Weather.
Hello and a very good evening to you. Hope you're all keeping well. So it's certainly been a changeable weekend across the capital, and if you're making plans for the next few days, well, it's more of the same really. So once again there will be some showers or longer spells of rain mixed with some sunshine, and the heads up for the middle part of the week we are expecting it to turn fairly windy. Now the reason for it were low pressure systems still in charge of things, keeping the UK unsettled and driving frontal systems towards us, bringing showers or longer spells of rain at times. And then it's this system here we are keeping a close eye on. Tuesday into Wednesday, this deep area of low pressure looks like it will bring some unseasonably windy weather. You can see by the squeeze in the isobars, it certainly is one to be keeping a close eye on. Now, in the meantime, coming back to the rest of tonight, we're still blustery and cloudy with some outbreaks of rain, and then the rain moves out of the way overnight, but we are left with a lot of mist, murk and moisture, and that means quite a humid night with those temperatures between 15 and 17 degrees. So a bit of a stuffy start to the day on Monday morning. Fair bit of cloud around at first, and we will see some bright or sunny spells. Showers developing as we go through the day. And we're looking at a top temperature there around 22 or 23 degrees. Bye-bye.
Valent Heat Pumps and Boilers sponsor ITV London Weekend Weather.